Hello everyone and welcome back to Top Grade. My name is Spencer Miller and today I'm so excited to introduce to you a selection of brand new Canadian middle grade books for the spring 2023 season. I have so many great books to talk about today, so let's get started. Like a Hurricane is from Orca Book Publishers and written by Jonathan Bacot. If you've been following these videos, then you know that I love a novel in verse. It's one of my favorite things to read with students. And I'm really excited about this one because it also covers a really important subject. This is about a young man who is gay and who is scared about coming out to his parents and his friends. And as he keeps the secret inside him, he also traps all of these stormy and dark and windy and hurricane-like feelings. It's this really great metaphor, and it's explored really well in the text or the font, the typography of this story. You can see the way that the words change and grow and shrink and move around the page according to the way that the protagonist is feeling. It's a really interesting way to read. It is so important that we include LGBTQ voices and LGBTQ stories in our classrooms for learners of all ages. And this book is perfect for middle grade readers to read about these ideas. Because the story is told in verse and through poetry, it allows the author to include so much about the feelings and the emotions of the character. And I think this creates a really relatable story and helps readers to build empathy. I really recommend this book to help build a feeling of love and inclusion in your classroom. The Umbrella House from Pajama Press is written by Colleen Nelson. Colleen Nelson is an award-winning author, and for good reason. She writes really memorable and imaginative stories for young readers, and does a great job of crafting relatable and inspiring young protagonists. Her latest book, The Umbrella House, is all about the power of art and community. In this story, two teens who are best friends live together in an old building in New York City, full of artists and eccentric community members, and they love their life there. But one day it becomes threatened when a big property developer wants to buy up the building and kick everybody living there out. And the two teens decide they're going to do something about this. And so they work together to film a video that'll show the value of their art and their home. They interview the people in their building, and they have this idea that this project is really going to save their way of living. The story gets a little bit more complicated than that. You'll have to read it to see how it ends, but it has this great message about the value of art and community and the things that we can do when communities come together. This book will capture the imaginations of young readers and show them that they have power and agency in their own lives and that they can make a difference in their communities. Space on Earth, How Thinking Like an Astronaut Can Help Save the Planet from Anik Press is written by Dr. Dave Williams and Linda Prusin and illustrated by Sho Yuhara. This nonfiction title takes a really interesting approach to sustainability in a way that I had never thought about before, but actually makes a lot of sense. When astronauts are living in space, they can't take a lot with them. They have very limited food and water and air and materials, and so they learn to live very sustainably. And it makes sense that these lessons that astronauts are learning about sustainability can actually help us a lot here on Earth. Space on Earth has a friendly and conversational tone, so complex topics are easy to understand. The book is packed full of information that will get young readers thinking like an astronaut. One of my favorite parts were the experimenting with Dr. Dave sections that give young readers step-by-step instructions to conducting experiments at home. These experiments would be perfect for inside the science classroom, so take a look. Sixties Girl from Heritage House Publishing is written by Mary Lou Dreger. This is a middle grade novel told from alternating points of view and across alternating timelines. In the present day, we follow young Will, who is growing up with all the struggles of being a young teenager in Winnipeg. As Will visits his grandma, he listens to her stories, and we are taken back in the narrative to the 1960s. And grandma stories are really where the action happens. They tell very personal stories that I think are very captivating about a young girl and her experiences taking care of sick family members or getting into trouble at school. But always in the background, there is some big news story going on, whether it's political assassinations or threat of nuclear war or royal visits or the legalization of birth control. There are all of these big important news events going on in the 1960s, and young Grandma Laura is just growing up through this time, and it's really interesting, and it really starts to connect with Will in the present day. Grandma's stories do a great job of reminding young readers that the events of the 1960s were not that long ago. Historical events from that era are still affecting and impacting the world today, and we can see it in the lives of our parents and our grandparents and the experiences that they had. In this sense, the book has this great message about the value of spending time with older generations, of spending time with grandparents and elders in your community. If we will sit down and listen to them and listen to their stories, there's so much that we can learn from what they have to tell us. Get Out and Vote: How You Can Shape the Future from Orca Book Publishers is written by Elizabeth MacLeod and illustrated by Emily Chu. This illustrated nonfiction book introduces readers to what voting looks like around the world, why voting is so important, and helps encourage young readers to become engaged and to get prepared and ready to vote. Young readers will discover how voting affects everyone, what election day looks like, why some people don't cast a ballot, and more. This book tackles timely issues around voting that are important for students to know about. Everything from racism and voter suppression to gerrymandering, accessible voting and vote rigging, lowering the voting age, and voting reform. This book really covers all of the bases. I am so inspired by my students, and I want them to be a part of making decisions in this country. I want them to be prepared and ready to cast their votes and make their voices heard very soon. And for that to happen, we need to start engaging students in conversations about voting in our classroom. For that reason, I think this book becomes a really invaluable teaching tool to help get that conversation started. And those are all of our books for today. On behalf of the Association of Canadian Publishers, thank you so much for watching. We hope that you'll follow along, subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can get more great Canadian book content. And we also want to offer a big thank you to Ontario Creates for their continued support of the Top Grade program. Visit the new and improved topgradebooks.ca to watch more videos, to see and download book lists, to explore books by grade level, check out blog posts with reading and classroom activities, and more.